Today we're going to talk about one good attacking setup for each map for Viper. Some are obviously going to be better than others. I'm not going to go into any particular lineups or anything like that in this video. We're just going to focus on the wall and orb, but I'm not going to do any orb lineups or anything like that. I personally believe that you should probably make your own lineups. Yes, you can go and watch a video, but I think making your own makes it that much more memorable for you because you've gone through the process of making your own, and it's not that hard to do. It'll only take a couple minutes on each map to get a good lineup for whatever you're looking for. So just put the time and effort in, and it'll stick with you a lot better, I think, than watching someone else do it, right? So with that said, let's get into the attacking setups on each map. Now on Ascent, there isn't too many great setups for the wall in general. There are some things you can do towards A, like some kind of wall like this that might block off heaven and block off content like that. That's fine, right? It's perfectly fine. And same for B site. I personally do quite like this wall on this B site. I actually think it's quite a good wall on a save round, to try and just push lane, to get that the door closed, to just try and get a spike plant off, just do that. I think that's perfectly reasonable as well. But I think that the best wall, the best way of using Viper on this map, and a wall that I would probably put down most of the time, and you will want a secondary smoker for this, but that is true of pretty much any time you're playing Viper. You'll want a secondary smoking character just because it's going to make your life so much easier, and it's a lot more powerful. This is why we have the Astra Viper meta, right? It's because Viper on her own can be a little awkward to play, but Viper plus Astra, it opens up your options in the map. You can explore different areas of the map and go back, and it's fine. It's perfectly fine. And Viper can just put down the same wall over and over again. So I personally would recommend that pretty much all the time anyway. But the wall I'm going to talk about is something like this. Why do I think this is a good wall? Well, I've talked about the importance of mid on this map, and I think that this is a pretty clean setup. Obviously, it blocks off this vision of mid here, so it's going to give you a bit of control there. Obviously, it blocks off anyone playing back here or back here from being able to peek down mid as well. So it's going to give you control, hopefully, of this mid area, which is going to be very, very useful for you on this map, because controlling mid is very important on this map. Now, there are some dangers with this wall. You are going to need to check this tight left corner to make sure there's no one there. Then you're going to have to check that, no one's being sneaky and playing in this little corner either if the wall goes down. So you're going to have to be careful if you start to make that push up. But once that's been done, you can potentially get a poison orb into something like this as well. And what that's going to allow you to do is, once this kind of box area is clear here and you've made your way there, then you're going to be able to peek this corner pretty safely. No one else is going to be peeking from anywhere else if this orb is up. So you're going to be able to clear that corner pretty safely. And then once that corner is cleared, well, then options really open up for you, because obviously then you can attack market, potentially by surprise, or you can sneak up to this area here. And I've mentioned that this area is so powerful, because no matter which site your other teammates are attacking, and Viper obviously is a very good lurking agent, no matter which side they are attacking, normally people will run through their spawn with their knife out, not expecting anyone to be there. So if you can get into this area, you will find a lot of free kills, and this is a pretty good setup for allowing you to do that. Okay, next up is Bind, and most of the things that you'll see on this map for Viper are towards the A site, in both pro play and probably your ranked games as well. It just suits, the wall just suits this A site a bit better than it does the B site, the construction of them. A popular wall that, you see a lot of people do, and this one was popular a while ago, you see less of it now, is something like this that kind of splits the site in half. The idea is that you're basically gonna, you're not gonna send too much pressure towards shower in this instance, and you're probably gonna go pretty heavy on short. That was kind of the idea. Or I guess you could go heavy on shower and not so much towards short. One or the other. Basically, you're splitting the site in half, right? But this has kind of been replaced by a different wall, and that is something like this, which is less to do with the site and more to just getting on, further into the site to start off with. And you'll also see a poison orb very often here, and pretty much every single team that I see play Viper on this map will do this the majority of rounds, a lot of the time. And the reason is, and by the way, you can learn a lineup for this orb from anywhere, like down here. There's a lot of different places you can get this orb into this position from. But the idea behind this basically is to turn, this relatively small and difficult choke point to get out of into the much bigger choke point of, I could come anywhere across this wall. I can come out of my poison cloud as well. So, instead of that tiny little gap, now all of a sudden it's a big gap that you have to try and stop us pushing through, which is going to be much harder for the defenders. And so if you can, it's basically just, we want to get past this. And if you can get past that reliably, then your chances of winning a round on this map go up a lot. Not only that, but it also gives you access to this, which is like the best lurk spot in this map, in my opinion. And the reason is, obviously, there isn't too many great lurking opportunities because there's no mid in Bind. Obviously, it's been replaced by the teleporter. But what this area allows you to do, it means if your teammates are attacking B and you get to this spot, what that means is any defender who tries to go through the teleporter, or any defender who tries to, run through your spawn and get out of A site towards B in these 2 of the 3 directions they might go, well, then you're going to get probably what is a free kill. So, it's a very good spot there. And of course, from this position, you can go and explore towards lamps and kind of create a different angle from the attack as well. Obviously, you can explode out at any point as well onto site. So it's a very powerful setup that you see pretty much every pro team use. So, take the hint that it's probably pretty good. Also, doing the wall exactly like this, if you do get the spike down, obviously it does then also cover this, which, will help in terms of stopping anyone coming out there. So you might want to play aggressive on the post plant as well. Moving on to Breeze, this one isn't too difficult. I'm sure you've all seen this kind of wall, something like this, a million times before, and it's just an insane wall, right? Nowadays, you do have to check close on both sides, which obviously with the changes is pretty important these days. But then once you've checked close, basically there's only one other position they can be, which is here, which is kind of a one and done position. So yeah, it's just a great way for getting onto site. And again, it's about turning this choke point into this, which is, just horrific to have to try and defend. And I'm sure many of you have come up against this wall and been like, what the hell do I do? And the answer is, you can't really do that much, to be honest. You can try and be aggressive if you want, but that's, you're kind of flipping a coin at that point. It's just so difficult to deal with. That wall is just really, really good. But there is another one as well that I just want to point out. And obviously you can just I'll just quickly mention, obviously you can do one towards B as well. There's, it's not rocket science. But one wall that I have seen more and more of in pro play is something like this. The idea behind this is obviously that it gives you control of short here and the sort of door towards the door that you can open down tube. And so, the idea when you generally see this kind of wall is that you'll send 2 players, through the short area. You'll send maybe 1 player up towards the door and open the door and attack site through here, and then 2 players towards cave. And basically the idea is, the angles of pressure, the different levels of pressure that you have on are just going to be impossible. Like, what does a defender sitting back here do? They're trying to fight cave, but then you open the door and you get a free kill. The people back here then are focused on you on the door, and then these people swing out on them. It's basically just that you can attack the site from so many different ways, and it's just a great way for enabling that. And so it is a pretty good wall as well. One thing I'll say orb-wise is there's 2 important orb spots on this map. For me, 2 good positions that you want to know how to get the orb into. One is basically as far down the tube as you can. Generally, how you're going to do that is start here and basically do a running throw up the tube. Again, I'm sure it won't take you too long to figure that one out. And one into nest. This one, again, very, very important. And you're generally going to do that from somewhere over here in this position by the courtyard there. Jumping throw, get it into nest, and this is a very, very good smoke, because this smoke is just going to give you a lot of control over mid in general. This person playing here in elbow, you can sneak up on them all of a sudden, because normally they'll expect that their teammate potentially in nest will be able to see you first, and then they'll swing off their contact perhaps, but now there is no contact to swing off because they can't see you. And so learning this is a very cool thing. And what I've tended to find is that if you do have teammates pressuring this B site, that this person on elbow will come and help out. They'll sprint out and they'll come and help out. And if this orb is up, that means that, you can just sneak through and get some easy kills and come through elbow, which is going to be very good for you again. Okay, moving on to Fracture, and most of the good walls on this map are going to be towards this B site. Now, you could do a Fnatic type wall, like something like this, which Fnatic used to a lot of success. The general idea behind this kind of wall is to attack tube. The only problem with this kind of wall, though, is that it requires that your teammates have a decent understanding of the game, which they might not, right? Because this wall is, the people coming from this side might get a bit annoyed at you, like, why are you smoking off for yourself? Like, if you're attacking towards tube, why are you smoking off for yourself and not, smoking like these parts? Why am I dying to these people here whilst you're getting, like, free, real estate up there? And it's probably because they don't understand what you're trying to do, or they don't understand how to play around your utility. maybe, you know, those kind of things will be annoying. So what I would suggest probably is just do a more normal wall, something like that. Anything that blocks off kind of these entrance points is probably going to be the best wall for most of your ranked games, because people will understand, you know, what's going on. And basically the idea behind it is, of course, you can come onto site and basically don't have to worry about the people, you know, sitting in the defender's spawn. So that's kind of the idea behind this, and works pretty well. In terms of orb lineups, again, getting an orb into here is pretty successful, especially with this wall. This is a pretty good setup in general. If you can get an orb in here, again, from anywhere sort of back here, you can potentially do it with a jumping throw. And so the idea behind this, of course, you can just run onto site if you want. You can, you know, potentially explore with the orb as well, up tube and surprise someone. Very, very good in general. Going to give you control of arcade, this setup, and then onto site as well. It's just a very powerful thing in general. Next up is Icebox, and again, it's not rocket science. You've seen it all a million times before. Anything, you know, like this, anywhere towards, you know, this kind of area, that it's just gonna give you the chance to plant, right? Icebox needs a change. We can all agree with that. And generally speaking, you'll want an orb in mid here as well. This is like Viper setup 101. If you want to play Viper at all, then you'll need to know, you know, this kind of thing. You'll need to know how to get your orb there. You'll need to, you know this wall and what this wall is trying to do. And yeah, that it's just Viper 101. This orb is very good, you know, allows you to sneak under, allows you to cross into tunnel if you want, allows you to potentially push, do a good old Nats push. If you want to watch Nats on this map, he's pretty insane at it, finding the timing of, you know, walking through this orb as his teammates are making his way over to A site and getting free kills on people here. You know, he's very good at that, and so you could probably watch him do it. On A site, the walls aren't as good. I mean, again, it's not rocket science. You'll see like something like this. Maybe if you're on a save, one thing I always say, if you're on a save, then potentially cut off the walls closer, because what you'll want on a save, most likely, if you're playing with worse guns, you want it to be more compact, right? If you've got Spectres and they've got Vandals or Phantoms, you want it to be closer space so that you have a chance in those closer spaces. So I would say, you know, think about that when you're playing Viper as well. You know, we're on a save, let's make the wall a bit smaller, let's sneak into weird areas that they won't expect, and make the overall fighting space smaller if we can. Okay, let's go on to Viper, potentially Viper's worst map, and that is Haven, in my opinion. The problem with Haven is really that, and why Viper isn't good on this map, is because there's just some key positions like the garage window there and A Heaven that are just quite hard to smoke with Viper in general. And that's what makes her a bit clunky on this map. To me, there's only really like one good wall, I mean, for this map, and that's probably something like this. The reason this is a perfectly good wall, of course, is that it stops the two key entrance ways for the defenders of getting back onto the site. And so, you know, trying to help out their teammate on C. This is a pretty good wall, and I would suggest that if you are playing Viper on this map, you'll probably want a secondary smoker with you. In fact, you definitely will want a secondary smoker with you to make it easier on you if you're going anywhere else. What I would say is that this wall is pretty good if you do have that secondary smoker and you can just put this wall down every single round. That's pretty good. In terms of orb positions, if you could learn a lineup to, you know, get this orb in B, that would be pretty helpful as well. And with this kind of setup, if you have a secondary smoker and you're constantly able to do this kind of setup, that could be pretty decent for you. And you can get a lot of control. You know, you could potentially lurk up towards B as well. You can get a lot of control of the map between you and your secondary smoker. You'll be able to go and explore a lot of areas within the map as well. And so I think that this is probably your best bet on Haven. And then finally, we come to Split. Now on Split, you'll see a couple walls that generally teams use. The first one is a bit of a ramp control type wall. This is a very good wall for lurking in general, and you'll see a lot of teams run Astra plus Viper on this map, and the reason is that Viper can always put down a wall like this, or there's kind of an equivalent on B site as well, which is a wall kind of like that as well. And the idea is it just allows you to sneak into certain positions, right? It just allows you to go there. This wall is obviously very powerful for allowing you to kind of just sneak up ramp. And, you know, what I love doing with this wall, by the way, is if you can get all the way up into ramp, you know, say someone's playing like Heaven here and they're waiting for this push here. you can like sneak on top of this box. I love going on top of this box and then dropping the wall, and it kind of times perfectly, generally speaking, for, you know, walking all the way up here, and you'll be able to just about get to the box and then it'll drop. And because you're on a different elevation than they might expect, that's what gives you the advantage of anyone playing like back here. You're on a different elevation than they expect, and that I have used to my advantage many times. Of course, also you can potentially sneak up vents and kill, you know, an unsuspecting person who's peeking down mid. That's also something that you can do with this wall a lot of. And so yeah, this is just a very, very strong wall in general. In terms of orb positions, again, you can learn lineups for putting it in heaven or putting it on the edge of ramp as well. Both very useful to you. You can, you know, potentially get it back here as well. It's a bit more difficult, but you can do it. So yeah, all of those are pretty good things that you could be doing with Viper on this map. This is another really solid map for Viper, and as I say, on this B site, what you want to be doing is potentially a wall like this. This is something that a lot of pro teams will use as well. Again, probably with an orb somewhere, you know, to block off some of the site towards heaven. And the idea behind this wall is, of course, that you sneak onto site. You know, you only have to check this left-hand side. You aren't worried about any of this or heaven, which is really, really important when you're getting onto the site, because those are very common positions to play. And basically, you know, this wall just basically means you check left here, you walk on up, you check behind this. Well, okay, I guess we have quite a bit of site control. Maybe you actually want it, you know, a bit closer here, or maybe you want to actually do it from inside, something like that. And you might think that this is a bit weird, but it's what a lot of pro teams do, is they actually, you know, they don't give yourself this area to plant the spike even. They just want to get onto the site, because that's the difficult point. The difficult point is not, you know, coming from here and getting any entranceway onto site once you're already in here. You know, that's quite easy, because you can peek from multiple sides, multiple angles. You can come at them from a big space. You know, this is a big space to potentially try and defend. So that's not really the point. The point is that, you know, defenders will often make it troublesome for you to get out of this. Whereas this wall, what it's helping you do is get out of this space and, you know, giving you all of this space to play around with, which is really, really useful. And so yeah, there's a Viper guide, one kind of setup, or multiple setups actually I did there for some maps, on each map. I hope you found it interesting, I hope you found it useful. If you do have any questions, then please let me know in the comments down below. I will try and get back to you if there's anything that you don't understand. I am a Viper main-ish myself, so, you know, I do have plenty of experience with this agent and understanding what is going on with this agent. So let me know if there are any questions you have. And with that said, thank you so much for watching, and have a really nice day.